Welcome everyone, and thank you for joining today's webinar. Today, my co-host and other panelists it's myself, Dr. Penda Diallo, Qualitative Research Manager at ASI, and then Mark Annandale, IPAF Advisor, Houdy Bah, IPAF Representative, Mamadou Billo Bah, Community of Hamdalaye Representative. First of all, I just want to make an acknowledgement to say that this research is a collaborative effort. Therefore, we want to thank all those who participated in the local communities and also in the consultation. So many people have contributed, and we want to thank all of them for their time and for sharing their experiences and views. And the project success is because of support provided by various institutions, the Ministry of Mines and Geology of Guinea first, the local prefect of Boké and Kindia, the sous-prefect and mayors of the regions of Sangaredi and Kindia, the chiefs of sectors, the chief of villages, the local community members, and the field work will not have been possible without the valuable support from IPAF members, local guides, field assistants, and our wonderful and patient drivers. So once again, I want to thank all of those who contributed to the research. This research was authored by myself and Mark and Fiona Solomon. So why did we do this research? ASI know that they wanted to engage more with community activities, but also better understand local communities in Guinea. So we did the research to have a better understanding of local communities in the bauxite mining regions of Guinea. And we also wanted to listen to communities to understand their perceptions, their concerns, and their views. And to take into account these findings to support ASI's engagement and address some of the gaps in terms of available data. The other reason we did this research is to be able to share our findings with stakeholders and to support more informed consultation and engagement. And the research was important for different reasons. It enabled us to collaborate with local and national stakeholders. And it was innovative in a way that there was a certain level of cultural appropriateness. And it also followed a participatory approach, and it illustrates examples of best practice of qualitative research. So the outcome of the research were 7 posters, and those posters were put together based on themes that came out of the research itself. So the first poster is an introduction, and the second one is seeking communities' consent in a culturally appropriate way. The third one was on bauxite mining in Guinea and the feeling of consultation fatigue. And the fourth one was on the community knowledge of FPIC in bauxite mining regions in Guinea. So as you can see, so this is the outcome of the first 4 posters. And these posters were translated also in French. And for each poster, you had a background, the summary of the findings, and the what to next out of the data. And the last 3 posters covered legitimate representations, understanding who do communities want to represent them, and also women and youth engagement in the region. And also the last one was on qualitative research methodology in rural bauxite mining regions. Again, this followed the same format as the others, where we had the summary of the background, the findings, where to from here, and some of the quotes, direct quotes and voices from communities. And on the qualitative research one, you can see some of the consent form we used. So what did we learn from this? There was definitely a common theme that came across, was this sense of consultation fatigue and lack of trust towards all external stakeholders. And another thing that came is that initially there was a perception of the white savior approach, where people thought white people coming to the community might bring something positive. But now, because communities feel that they haven't seen anything, so they see this as white people coming in and making money from their images and their stories. And communities said they're tired with this. What they want is action that will support their livelihoods, not to be used for photographs only. So they no longer want to just be there for people to come take photos and share their stories. They want action. Communities also say that they don't feel that they are always represented by their choosing legitimate representatives when it comes to discussing issues that concern them. So the importance of culturally appropriate engagement as well. So often communities say that when they consulted, people come last minute and ask them to meet. And I put an example of the meeting I had in Wosu, where when I came and asked what time they will be available, when should I come, they said to me, oh, we didn't think you will come back, because we usually people just gather us and do their meetings. And when I had the first meeting, the woman actually came to me. They said, we've never seen anyone take so much time and ask us so many permissions before. We want a meeting with you. Would you come back? And I said, yes. And instead of 15 women, there were 45 women who came, because they said that they've never had a chance to be spoken to with so much respect and consideration. And therefore, they really came and they wanted to have a discussion. And the interesting thing is, because I gave them consent form to sign, and these were translated, and we went over them in Pula, they were joking that this is like a passport for them, because no one has ever asked them to sign anything before engaging with them. So that was really interesting. But they were so happy that although they were very happy, and was very emotional for me as well. So I think with the other learning is that with real commitment, effort, and flexibility, we can undertake research and disseminate research in a culturally appropriate way. The interesting thing is that all of these are summarized in the posters, and you can go over them and what communities said in their own words. So the knowledge of local context and collaboration with local and national experts is also key in order to be able to achieve these results. And how did we disseminate the research? So what we did was that after the research, we went back to communities to share the findings. But what we did in order to ensure that actually communities could say what they want, so we didn't share the findings with the world before, we trained a team of IPAF members in how to collect community feedbacks. And then as a second step, those IPAF members went into the community, as you can see nearby, with the booklets, to discuss whether actually this represents their views. So the summary of the community feedbacks were then put into a report. And I thought I'll just share with you some of the feedbacks from the communities in their own words. So this is what they said. It is the first time we have this type of interaction. It proves that this organization, ASI, is not a puppet and has the good faith to fight for the cause of our communities. We are delighted about this document in more than one way. This was from Hore Lafu in the prefecture of Boké. Another comment from the youth coordination was that we are pleased in more ways than one, because Dr. Penda has reproduced exactly what we said a year ago. It is interesting, and it gives us hope. Although we submit youth projects to mining companies without any return, CLG has made a big contribution to preserving peace. Another one said, we are very happy. It is the first time we've had any feedback since we've been here. The fact that the world is going to know about our problems is a big step for us because we are suffering. Another comment said, we don't have the words to thank you because you can't help us unless you know our problems. And thanks to this research that is happening, our young people are not working, even though they are skilled workers. We have no schools, no health centers. All promises never come true. We have joy and hope this good example of transparent and sincere work will continue. Regarding the organization ASI, we do not want to lose contact between us and the researcher, Dr. Penda Diallo. This was from Hamdalaye. And lastly, there was another comment that said, we are very happy with this initiative and will present this document to the authorities and our friends in the coordination. The problem is that young people are not informed about our rights and duties, which is why we strike. But with the existence of this document, we are a little relieved. So as you can see, this type of research gives communities hope. But this is not, this will not resolve their issues, and it just gives them hope. But it's just an example to show that there is space to do work with those communities. And this is what they want us to do. So in conclusion, the conclusion and the learnings is that communities do not feel like they are listened to. Communities need to be heard, to have their representatives present in the decision-making process. Communities need more information on the bauxite exploration and mining process to support improved engagement and informed decision-making. Employment initiatives that target youth provide meaningful job opportunities for men and women, supported by career development with targeted training, education, work experience, vocational training such as apprenticeship, cadetship, opportunities for scholarship. These are all things that communities want. And some of the last, in conclusion, some of the last learnings are also that communities are tired of external stakeholders coming to take their photos, consult them, and disappear. They want feedback, and they want people who visit them to come up with concrete projects to help improve their livelihood. Young people and young women want support and resources to access jobs or create their own activities. They also do not only need trainings with no jobs. So this research approach gives communities hope, but communities want more support, again, to improve their livelihood and well-being. And we hope that we certainly will use this we'll use the learning of this report as we engage with our communities. And we also hope that our stakeholders will use these findings as a learning, also as a way to identify opportunities of where and how they can engage with communities in a culturally appropriate way, but also support communities with what they need. So thank you very much. I will now invite my colleagues, Mr. Houdy Bah and Mr. Mamadou Billo, to add their contribution. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Penda, and all those who are participating in this meeting. We are very happy to participate with ASI because we participated with the research of Dr. Penda, and we also participate with the spreading of these conclusions of the research. The community was very appreciative of this approach, and they all have received people who came to do interviews or take pictures, and they were published in magazines abroad. But this approach carried out by Dr. Penda and the fact that she was really involved with the community, that gave them really some assurance that their problems would be understood and known. Their problems, which are very complex after the mining exploitation. They understood that all the concerns that they manifested were conveniently transcribed and placed in the report. Very soon, they hope that their problems will be solved, and they would like to develop a certain number of activities that will carry out these practices, because the fact that you listen to them instead of just talking to them and taking pictures and going away, this time it was better. So we really hope that the practical results will come out of these research, and that these communities could send an appeal to all the stakeholders so that their lives will be better, because they have lost their traditions, they have lost their culture, because biodiversity has been affected, because people have changed. Young people do not listen to their priests, and these things that they have repeated for so many times now will be taken into consideration in a serious way, and stop this danger that is affecting their rights. They also want that culturally all a company will take into consideration their traditions, culture, and their habits, because their traditions have changed so much, and they do not want this. They want that those who come and also everything that has to do with their agricultural practices and the work for the young people and the creation of will not affect their land and the fertility for agriculture and their transformation of their food, and also for the creation of workshops to repair electronic devices so that they can do it, because now all families have TVs and iPhones, so they would like to have a center for the maintenance of these electronic devices so that young people can work and also can have their devices repaired. Also, the communities suffer with the culture that they are developing at this moment. They want to modernize and develop, and they would like to have access to clean water, drinking water. And they would also like to see this center for the training of women in their occupation, and this would be undoubtedly practical activities that would develop, and this would also help young people to get to learn, especially when everything is written in languages they do not understand. So I am going to give the word. I was thanking Ms. Bah for her accompaniment all the time. Mr. Billo, if you can do your contribution. Please go ahead. I would just like to compliment what Dr. Houdy Bah said. For us, the youth and community of Annandale, we are requesting help for helping the community of Annandale. At present, we would like to profit from the advantages of modern life, because all our traditions have been destroyed and we have had no support. We would like you as partners, you could help us to have this I'm sorry, the interpreter cannot hear. So we want training for young people, for the community of Annandale. Everything that was just said by Mr. Bah is to have the help here on site. The mining society and us, the population of Annandale, we are asking the partners to help us. Many NGOs come here, take pictures, and publish a lot of things in social media, but nothing else happens. We ask for your help. And thank you very much. I apologize, it was not very clear. Thank you very much.
So now, Mark, I would like to invite you to share some of your reflections, and then we'll proceed to questions. Mark?
Thanks, Penda. Well, in the interest of getting through some of the questions that have been posed, I'll maybe focus on those. We've got 4 questions in the chat. One of them is, how do we make sure that all global bauxite mines meet, and in brackets with evidence, high sustainability expectations of customers? Well, the short answer to that is that's what the ASI performance standard is all about, so that there is one standard that's met globally, that all bauxite miners in this sense, based on this question, meet those same standards, and they have a consistent methodology of mining with regard to limiting or mitigating impacts, maximising benefits, managing the environment, social and other elements associated with whichever mine that may be. So that's the quick answer to that question. There's another one. How will ASI use the findings of this research? So ASI will use the research findings and including the posters that have been developed from the research, as Penda has described, and as supported by the Guinea participants present in this webinar have described. And the next phase of actioning some of the research findings includes further development of materials from the research, and complement that with other work with IPAF in other countries around the world that have identified a number of common themes to share with Indigenous peoples and local communities. And the common theme is that people want more information so they can have an informed discussion, so that they can better engage with the mining sector and the regulators who are governing mining operations and associated facilities. So this research will lead to a better understanding of what bauxite exploration and bauxite mining is, what the impacts of those operations are, what the reality is for communities that may be impacted by such operations, what measures the communities may identify to both improve those impacts, such as employment outcomes, how to better mitigate the impacts that may be negative, and that could be dust or dislocation of communities, impacts on agricultural lands, those sorts of things. So this research is about having that more informed discussion, and as Penda and Mr. Bah said just now, to listen to communities, for communities to have a voice to contribute to the discussion in an informed way. Penda, is there anything you wanted to add to response to that question, or should we go to the next?
We can go to the next. Thank you, Mark.
So the next question is how to rehabilitate mined out areas and to make them available for local resource users. So I'll give a very brief comment and then ask Penda to do similar. So the rehabilitation of mined areas, the consideration for that needs to commence prior to any mining operations starting, so that you understand what is there before mining and talk to community members and those impacted on those lands, so that you can then inform yourself, and that's all the stakeholders, with what should be there post-mining. What are the technical limitations for the post-mine environment with establishing land uses that support livelihoods, that support environmental outcomes, and support a range of other benefits that mine rehabilitation may provide, including a whole list of ecosystem services, such as biodiversity, such as soil protection, water protection, etc. So there's a whole diversity of things that need to be considered with regard to local resource users in the post-mine environment.
What has been the role of government institution in all of this? I noticed in Guinea that bureaucracy can be rather discouraging, if not paralyzing, for instance, as regard of users' right for areas that have been mined out that need to be rehabilitated. Or it's important to have, okay, I think on that, in terms of the research, first of all, I think to do the research appropriately, you need to seek permission from the governments. So them giving us the ordre de mission to allow us to go to communities, to allow us to interview whoever we want, has been crucial. Because with that letter from the ministry, you then go to communities, and then the prefect, the mayors, all those are elected officials who are the ones who are responsible of some of the bureaucracy that needs to happen locally. So it's important to engage them before we go into a municipality. So that is, and them allowing us that access is an important role, because they can't say no. That's also in their right. And another observation is that it's important to have long-term commitment. Part of the frustration towards the NGOs is that they have only funding for short-term projects. Once they are finished, they disappear. And so do all too often the results of their projects. Mining enterprises are there for a long term and could therefore do better. I mean, this was just a point of view. Yeah, so Anne-Marie said, when will the reports be available? Well, they are already in the link, so you can download them. So somebody said, I am wondering what has been the role of ASI so far in mitigating the impact on communities and securing remedy for the harms they have suffered by mining companies, some of which are ASI members, especially considering that communities didn't want to participate in any more research without concrete results. So thank you very much about this question. So, well, as you know, ASI is not a mining company per se, so what we've done in terms of this research, what communities said again is that yes, they do not want to participate in any more consultations that comes and do not give them any feedback and concrete results. So the fact that we have shared this and gone back with them is concrete. The fact that we are going to go back and share with them our workshops, which will enable them to understand mining exploration, how to engage mining communities, that is concrete. And that's the kind of things they want. They don't want just people to come, collect the information, publish it in the world in a language that they don't understand. And everywhere we've been, we have done these interviews in Susu or in Fulani or in some places Baga, where they speak Baga. So this is the kind of thing they want. and they want their permission to be sought. They didn't say that they don't want any research at all, but they want it to be done in a culturally appropriate way, for it to respect, to people to go. You will see all of it in the reports, the steps that they want. So that's the kind of research they want. And then we are not just leaving them. We are going to follow up. We are going to engage with them. We are going to build the capacity on what is within our capacity that they've asked us to do. So that's to respond to that question. And I don't know whether Mark wanted to add something.
Well, yeah, just to add to that, Penda, in addition to all of those things you've just outlined, the increasing number of local community members participating in IPAF and learning from other IPAF members around the world, their experience with bauxite mining and associated facilities has been significant.
Yeah.
And the local communities in Guinea have gained a lot of contacts with Indigenous people and other local communities in other countries. In addition, ASI has shared publicly available information on some of the technical aspects of mining, rehabilitation, and some of the pre-mining assessment opportunities for them to participate in. So there's a whole suite of other things that ASI are participating in to support local communities, and that's one of the many roles that ASI play in this space. The Beyond Certification theme of ASI that is available on the website provides significant information to inform those that may be interested to learn more.
Yeah, no, thank you, Mark. And that's something that actually communities have appreciated a lot, because this is the first time that an international radio organization brings them with people who are outside, but who share the same concerns. And even having young people in those things, and something like today, having them share their concern is also not something common that they've had. So these are all concrete things and the type of things they want. And somebody said, can you talk of the underground issues ongoing in Guinea? I think there is a lot of things out there which you can consult. And what we've done, if you also read some of the poster results, you can also see some of the community concerns and what they want.
There's a new anonymous attendee question with regard to how do these results, especially the communities' wish for more transparency and to be heard better, influence further development of the ASI standards and the audit protocols. So with regard to the current version 3 of the performance standard for ASI, IPAF had significant input into the review and development of the current standard as it transitioned from version 2 to version 3. So that's a significant input of IPAF members, and that occurred over an extended period. IPAF was supported in many different ways to make those contributions for review of the standard, and the Standards Committee, which IPAF is a member of, all of the other members listened to IPAF's inputs, considered those, and accepted 100% of those recommendations which are in the current standard. With regard to audit protocols, the training of Indigenous peoples and local community representatives and local community members includes significant training through ASI and our various learning and educational platforms, some of which has led to a number of people being registered as specialists with ASI. And we've got ongoing training programs in multiple countries with IPAF members to build that capacity, specifically through training and education initiatives, and a number of people wanting to be registered specialists and also participate in witness assessments as part of the assurance program within ASI. And that includes witness assessment includes ASI Secretariat members and community members observing the audit process to understand if that audit process is being done according to the ASI process methodology and assurance guidelines. So they're just some answers to that question with regard to influencing further development of the ASI standards and audit protocols.
Yeah, thank you. And I think there is one last comment, and which probably be the last one, because, so they said the feedback to all stakeholders is essential, but you also raise expectation. And what will be a follow-up to that? I actually know if one does the research, as a researcher, I've always said to people, what is the purpose of research? And my research or qualitative research is often, to lighten, to find out more about specific issues, to put it in a simple term. But this does not necessarily mean that one will come back with the solutions or with funding. And one thing that actually the community said they appreciate is the honesty and the transparency of telling them, yes, this data will be collected. But all it will happen is that it might enable other people to know more about what is happening. But it does not promise any sort of resolution to all issues. And communities know that. And what the woman said, again, I'm going to quote them, is just the fact that you've given us respect and time, and taking time to understand our issues means a lot for us, because we want to be heard and we also want to be listened to. So even that is in itself for them a big thing. And hopefully the findings will enable other people who want to do more to do more. And that's also what usually, research also does, qualitative research per se. So hopefully other stakeholders can use these findings to improve their own research or to do things if they want to, if they have funds. So I think that this is the last comment. And if everybody is happy with this, we will end here and thank everyone for their participation. Unless anyone else has a comment. Marc, Monsieur Bah, est-ce que vous avez quelque chose à dire? I think we lost them. Marc, do you have anything, or is this a good place to end?
Yeah, I think so, Penda. We've gone over time. It's been a good discussion, and we can further discussion with people outside this webinar.
Yeah. So thank you everyone again for your participation.